did my final deep pour. I gotta get some of these bubbles out, but I just poured it. And I've got to tell you, I'm actually happy. I'm so relieved to have this part completed because 3 of these tables have been crazy. Remind me next time not to try to be an overachiever. But this is apparently an epic battle in one of Buddy's favorite book series. So I tried to recreate. Hopefully he can see it and understand it. I don't know, because I've not read the book. But, oh man, it's hard because you can see the reflection of the lights and stuff in the table right now. But everything is poured, and I've got my heat gun that I've been popping these bubbles with occasionally. I just let them come to the surface and build up a little bit, and then I'll come by and run my heat gun over them and pop them. But this is the last deep pour, and now I've just been sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding the second one I just did. But let me show you. The first one's just been hanging out. Got all this plastic and everything kind of just, I've literally taken over the entire barn with all of my stuff. This one I did first, and it looks a little foggy right now because of the sanding that I did. I ended up doing the wet sand at the 2000 grit sandpaper, worked my way all the way up from 60. So this is what it looks like. But as soon as I do the final tabletop pour, which is different from the deep pour, it should clear up. So that's the hope. One thing that I have to go back and do for every table is to router the edges to make the edges nicer. Now I won't be able to router this edge or that edge because it's going to be connecting to the other 2 pieces. So that's going to be something to think about. But right now I'm just kind of playing it by ear, and I'm actually a little bit nervous because I only got 4 legs for this table. 2 of them are like L-shaped legs that I was hoping that it would connect tables together, and then I don't know. I think with the weight of these tables are so heavy, I can't lift them by myself, that I'm thinking that I'm gonna need to get more legs for these. So, but today is December 10th, and I've got 15 days to get all of this completed before Christmas. It's coming down to the wire. I will add one more thing. This time around, I did a different sealant. I did a different caulk. The other 2 tables, I used a clear kitchen and bath silicone sealant. Well, I ran out of that, and I thought, I have other sealant, I have other caulk, let me just try something new. Don't do that. Don't do what I did. I'll show you the one I used, but if you can see here, I cut it out. I cut it off, but I had an incredible, literal bloody mess because it was this blood red color, and it had like eaten through whatever this is. This is not a very durable product for this type of project, but I had to lift this entire table up to not drain it, but to push all the epoxy that way. Thank goodness it wasn't that deep, but I had to push it that way to stop the leak from here because it was just running out. And I had to get duct tape and some clear tape and some Gorilla tape, and I just taped the mess out of this, and then I clamped it really good with all of those clamps to try to get this corner to stop leaking. And then I slowly laid it back down and let the epoxy come back, and it settled and it didn't leak. But I lost a good amount of epoxy on the floor and all down here, and it was just such a bad mess. So stick to, let me show you what it was, the new epoxy that I used. Where is it? Oh, it was this one that I used. This Extreme Stretch High Performance Acrylic Urethane. Don't use that. I thought it would work. It didn't. Just stick with the silicone. That's going to be the best option for these tables. Okay, this is what I'm going to call a dry fit. I did not film this part, but I will tell you that originally I had this turned this way, and I did not like it. I called Kim over, I got her opinion, but what happened was this edge right here was coming out this way, and it stuck out like, I don't know, 1/4 of the way of the door. So you like basically walked in and you almost hit your leg on the door, and like it was just coming out right here. But the problem I had was this from here to here was about 10 inches too long. It would have come out to about here. So I had to find a way to make it work where I could turn it and make it fit against this wall. So what I did was I ended up cutting 2 5-inch sections off of this center piece. I cut about 5 inches here and 5 inches over here. Now my dilemma I had was, if you remember, there's coins. These are metal coins that I put down in here. So I had to skirt, literally, I think there's one metal coin right in here. You can barely see it. Actually, I'll show you. I have this rag, it's kind of damp, and when you get this wet, it shows a little bit clearer. So there's this coin, but it was actually a bunch of coins, and so I had to make sure I was not going to nick one of the metal coins here. So I was able to skirt that side, and then I did the same thing over here, where I barely missed this little raven skull thing over here. Now it's very hazy looking, and it's gonna, when this water rag dries, it'll come back hazy, but that's all going to clear up once I put the final tabletop epoxy pour on it. Currently it's just got that final sanding haze, but again, like I said, once I put the final pour, it'll clear up. But anyway, I just wanted to give you kind of a rundown on what I was dealing with. And then also, I had to finagle with these legs. I really didn't want to add this middle, I didn't want it to where this middle piece was on independent legs. I was going to try to share some leg real estate from these side pieces, but it just ended up not working out. So I had to order additional legs. But I think it's going to work out okay. I mean, either way he sits, if he wants to sit on this side, or this side, he'll be able to maneuver around in there. And then the other day I was at Hobby Lobby and I found these LED strip lights, and I was just like, I was just taping them up last night, just playing around with them in the dark just to see what it looked like. And it actually looked really cool. They've fallen down from there, but, I liked them a lot, so I think I'm going to probably get one more strip so it can go this way too. But yeah, that's an update on that. So today, my goal is I need to attach these legs, router the edges. Well, this is all, I'm not going to be able to do it all today, but I need to attach the legs, router the edges, and do the final pour. So today, if I can, just get the legs attached and maybe start routering. That would be a really good goal. It's already 3 o'clock because we've had school Christmas parties. Tonight in a couple hours is Alora's holiday musical thing at school, so I'm running out of time today, but I'm gonna try to get some done on this because I've really got to get this wrapped up. But that's the update on the table. I need to give a shout out to Bree because although she's not been on any of the videos this far with my super secret project,
I look like my head's cut off. Let me get out from under here.
Yeah, she has been instrumental in this project because
no,
you have. I wouldn't have been able to do it without you, I swear. Anytime that I'm like, Bree, I need help, these are, how many pounds do you think one of these are?
A lot of pounds.
Yeah.
Like at least a few hundred, I feel like.
Yeah,
right?
like one of them is at least.
It's gotta be like us carrying a person at least on each side, right?
Yeah. I would say like 150 minimum.
For sure.
Yeah. One of them. One. And so every time I have to go back and forth between here and the barn, I'm like, Bree, can you help me? And she saves my back. So
I think it's really funny. I feel like you've caught me at like the perfect time every single time. It's always when I'm like on my way home from somewhere and I can just whip the truck in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like she texted me a few minutes ago and says, hey, when will we be home? And I was like coming through the neighborhood.
Yeah. And right now she's helping me center and screw down the legs. And we just did that one and it's very stable. So now we're gonna do the edges. And then after that, I can do the final pour and I'm gonna be done.
I can't wait to see it.
I know. Did you know that I bought a fog machine? I told you that.
Yeah. I can't wait to use that for so many other things as well.
I know. I bought a fog machine so that the grand reveal. I'm so dumb. There's fog in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're extra.
I am extra. So we're gonna get to doing this. Guys, the legs are fixed on. Everything is secure and tight. And I'm getting ready to do the final pour. Everything has been wiped down. At this point, it is what it is. Imperfections and all. So, here we go. So I did not follow the instructions and I really hope I did not just ruin this epoxy because I've been so used to the deep pour epoxy where I can use my hand drill to mix it. It says not to use your hand drill to mix it, but I did it anyway, and the main reason is because it's gonna mix a lot of air bubbles in here, but I feel like if I stand over it with a heat gun to pop these air bubbles, it should be okay. I don't know. I'm gonna do this one table next to me. You're not gonna be able to see it, unfortunately, and hopefully it doesn't ruin. I'm just gonna see what it looks like. Use my hand to work this around. There are some pretty tiny bubbles in this stuff, but guys, today is December 22nd and I'm about to sand this table down and redo it. Because I messed up. I'll show you. I think for the most part, it looks good. Maybe not great. There are some curing small blemishes, but you really, I mean, you can see it really well with the light reflecting on this, but you know, from a distance, it looks really good, I think. You know, the seams that are coming together here are okay. This right here needs to be filled in better. This here is a little bit of a divot. But this I need to come back and pour some more in here. Now, down here is where it gets real rough. For whatever reason, when this started to cure, only on this edge, it did something called a fish eye, where it has these little divots. Then I tried to mix some extra epoxy, as you can see, and pour it on top just while it was curing to see if I couldn't just fill in these little divots. That didn't work. So now it is truly ugly. So I'm going to sand this corner down, and then I bought another thing of epoxy, tabletop epoxy, that I'm gonna pour over it. You can see it pretty good in this angle, the little divots. Do I think Buddy would really care? Probably not. Do I care? Absolutely I do. So, I mean, down here, everything is fine. Like, there are no fish eyes down here. I don't know what happened, but by the time it made it down here, it just started to get all wonky. And maybe I got my heat gun too close whenever I was popping the bubbles. Maybe that could have been it. I don't really know. So, but the fact is, I'm going to have to try my best to sand this down. But the problem is, I can't just repour this corner, because wherever the epoxy stops, it'll leave some sort of mark. So I'm going to have to repour this entire table and just really monitor this section to hope that it doesn't start to, I mean, to fill in some of this is fine. You know, that's okay if it gets down into this little seam. I'm not too worried about that, but I really don't want it to start seeping this way. Otherwise, then we're going to have a clear new epoxy line on this table, because I poured it all at once, right, at the beginning. So I really just want to pour this one table and just be really cautious of how thick I go over here, which is going to be kind of a struggle. So y'all will have to hang in there with me. And I'm so sorry that my phone ran out of storage as I was pouring the first pour. I just remembered that I couldn't even show you me pouring this final pour on top, because my phone ran out of storage. And yeah, and I couldn't stop at that point. I couldn't. But maybe you'll get to see the second pour. We'll see how that works out. But I'm going to mix up, well, I'm going to sand this, clean it all off. Hopefully it doesn't get too dusty in here, because that would be awful. And then clean up the dust, and then we will repour it. Okay, I've mixed together in 2 different containers my tabletop epoxy. So it's a different brand than the one that I used for everything, but this is a small batch that I could pick up at my hardware store, and hopefully it'll work out okay. So I'm just going to, so if you can see here, it's got that hazy look to it. I'm gonna wipe this down one more time, because I do not want to get any trapped particles under here. Dust, debris. I put a little bit of painter's tape just to try to capture anything that maybe slips that way. Kind of maybe try to fill in this groove a little bit if it does seep down in there. Okay. see if I can't stand this up. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna pour it kind of slowly. And I've got my gloved hand, and I'm just gonna kind of move this around on the table and get it. And I do have a drop cloth down so that any runoff on the edges, it'll catch it. I'm just gonna slowly work this over because I don't want it too much. Remember, because I don't want it overflowing to the next table. Just want it in that crack where they meet. All right, and so one thing that I did not want to happen did happen. We've got a little bit of overspill on this table, but I'm gonna let this kind of sit for a minute, and then I'm gonna come back and try to clean up this edge as best I can. Wipe off some of the extra. Some of this cleaned up. I am so happy that I decided to sand this down and redo it. I'm so happy that I decided to do that. It looks 10 times better. All right, so after that pour, this is what that edge looks like now. It's a lot better than it was. So now I'll just wait for this to cure. Should only take a couple hours because it's a fast setting tabletop pour. And then I can start trying to, well, what I've been doing, I'll show you, is I can't do it on this one yet because it's still wet, but I've been going around and with my knife heating up the bottom edges of everything and scraping off the little bubbles. It's a tedious job, but it has to be done. As you can see, these little bubbles that hang, these are dry now, but I come back and I just scrape them off, but I heat them up a little bit, makes it easier to clean up the edges from that pour. Okay, so this is it. We've reached the end. Today is Christmas Eve, and I'm doing a wrap-up video of Buddy's secret surprise that I've been working on since Thanksgiving. It's been a labor of love, and I hope he loves it, but I want to show you the final product. Now, I'm not done in here, but I'm done with this. Okay. I'll just give you a little bit of a tour because I added on some things. As you know, Buddy's a big D&D lover, Dungeons and Dragons, so I just put some kind of D&D themed pictures together and framed them in a big poster thing, because I did it on this wall because behind this is our really ugly gray, the electric panel. So I covered it with this poster, and then I got another one to cut so it wouldn't look too weird. And unfortunately, there's not much I can do about this right now. This is our substation thing, network station for the internet and all the cords, and it's where our printer lives. So that stays there. Can't really move it. But this is the end result. There's definitely some imperfections on the table. This table had a couple little pivots in it, but for the most part, it's hard because there's a glare to see every detail. But this is the final result of the table. And I could not have done it without Bree's help, Kim's input. Cayden helped me move things time and time again because these are so heavy. Here's a little village with the little minis. These little people are sitting around a table, a makeshift hay bale with something, and little fire pit area. And every little nook and cranny has something to see. So I really hope he enjoys it and loves it. There's definitely some flaws, but overall I think it worked out. And these seams are together, you know, the epoxy settled in the middle, so this is all one table. If we have to move it out, we're gonna have to cut it apart. This was the only table that really gave me fits with the epoxy on top, but that's the see-through, that's the side view, the end. I'm trying to get the glare. I'm trying to stand so where you can't really see the glare. It looks a little bit more fuzzy in the phone than it actually is in the camera anyway. But there it is. And I was joking with Bree and Jamie the other day about how I had this vision of like opening the door and it was like all like foggy, you know, rolling on the floor. So I was like, I'm gonna buy a fog machine. So I got a little fog machine. So for Christmas morning, I'll come out here a little early and set up the fog machine so it can have just like a little bit of fog on the floor and make it like the ambiance, right? Of the kind of like a dungeon or something. So, and then I just got him this little mat. This is definitely not a trapdoor, you know, sticking with the theme. But I love it. I really do. It took me a long time, a lot of learning, trial and error. And I will probably do a whole video later, a sit-down video of lessons I learned, things not to do, disasters that happened, things I wish I would have done in different order. But this is it. This is his office space, and as of tomorrow, he can come back. He's been banned, so he can come back in it and enjoy his space. And I told him I was jealous of his view because he has such a great view of the bird feeders. Every time I was in here working, I could just see all the birds on the bird feeders. And I loved watching them while I was in here. But yeah, it's, I need to refill that one over there. Bird feeders over there. So you will get to see his reaction tomorrow. Well, you'll see it eventually, but I'll be recording his reaction in the morning. Hopefully he'll love it. All right. Okay, I'll check in with you tomorrow. Bye, guys.
On the Denman homestead, where the sun sets golden in the west, we live in harmony with nature, doing what we love best. From the garden to the kitchen, and the bees inside their hive. On the Denman homestead, come along and plant, nourish, thrive.